with tabletop gaming, kind of like Magic the Gathering Warhammer, since I'm kind of doing a Warhammer thing. So why not print out some moon trackers? Probably because it's snowing outside here in Korea. Yeah, it is like 35 degrees and we got a little bit of snow coming on. So I thought I would show you all the snow. And we thought the winter was gone, but boom, there it is. We have the snow. I don't know how much snow we're gonna get, but we've got it. And yeah, George pops in and says hello. Corsair the pirate. Yeah, snow. The wife went to go have lunch with a friend of hers, and so she's on the bus and she texted me and said, yeah, we got snow. And sure enough, we have snow and it's cold. Oh my gosh. It's like, I think it's like 34 degrees and there's a little bit of a breeze going on. So it's probably about 32-ish. So yeah, doing the snow thing, kind of having fun with the snow thing. So we got that going on, and let's see what else. It's our washer and dryer. Have to check to make sure, because I'm supposed to, after it dries, I'm supposed to fold the laundry, and I've been notoriously known for being absent-minded and forgetting about the laundry. So yeah, that's what we got going on. What are we printing right now? Probably some people are asking, and we're going to take a look. So we're printing out some stuff here, and this is the counter that I'm making and printing out. I took like a base model and then I changed some stuff on there. And so we're printing that stuff out as we speak, as you can see there. And a little bit of a closer look on here on the Tinkercad. And basically, so we got these little wheels here that have numbers. And then we have an axle, and the way that these things are made. Don't think I'm all that in a bag of chips. I did not make this. This was, and this spindle here was from somewhere else, just a generic tracker. And then I took it and I didn't like the face, and there was some angled stuff on there. The lettering was all jacked up. It was inset and it just didn't come out right. It was just kind of rough looking. And it was just, this was it right here, matter of fact. So, you know, it moves, but the this gets in the way, and it's it moves, but it's that rim that goes around it that keeps you from getting a good handle on it. So what I did is make this so it's a little bit better. Of course, it's got to be a little bit better. And so I spent countless time on the Tinkercad, and we're going to say that's probably close enough. It's probably right there. So what we'll end up having is basically kind of like that. And so that way you've got a little bit of real estate right there and on the other side, so that you can actually rotate that around. And what'll end up happening is we'll have a little spindle that'll go in the center like so, and then we'll have this, and that'll fit in there, and then we'll have the other one, and that will go on top, kind of like that. And then we'll have the top piece that'll go on there. So yeah, it'll sandwich all that in there. Actually, that's going to go up just a hair. I think it's about like that. And yeah, so that'll come around and things will be able to spin around. You could do your numbers and stuff like that. So taking something and improving it on Tinkercad And this should work out pretty good. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, we're doing that. And I tried a couple other variations to check that out. And so kind of the same thing. And that was the old lettering, and it doesn't print out well. And I figured, you know what, we'll have it raised. And this, like I said, I tried to do this with this shape, but you can't get your fingers on it, so it makes it really hard to turn. And then I made a smaller one, and the same thing. It just kind of, it's not conducive. And since there's a flat, the letters are inset, then the problem is there's nothing to grip there. So let me see if I can do this. We'll see if I can get this going. Will this even work? I don't know. So you can see they turn, but the edge here ends up getting in the way of your fingers. So I figured if you had a little cutout on here on both sides, you'd be able to actually get a hold of it and turn the numbers. So yeah, we're kind of doing that. Oh, and here's our guys with our different paint schemes. So we've got the Fusion dark metallic, and that came out. We have a dark wash on there, and then we have a brown wash on the other side, and then of course that. The silver guy, which is way too silvery. Gold, silver, those aren't going to work. And then I ended up trying this Arteco paint, which is a black pearl or pearl black. And look at how beautiful that came out. If I can get this thing to focus. That is a beautiful color. So that's almost like lead belcher stuff there. Focus. So that is a really beautiful color. So that might be something, but I had to hand paint this. So yeah, it really does look good. And for Necrons, imagine having, stuff like that with that type of color, have black as the base or as the primer, and then spray this on there. So I need to see if I can take this and thin this out to the point where it makes a good airbrush paint. So I'll have to get some thinner and try all that stuff out. So yeah, it's turned out pretty good. Pretty good, I think. I mean, it's interesting to see how all those came out, but I'm thinking the lead belcher is even better. As far as color. So I think I'm going to paint this guy with some white, and then we'll do some colors on him with the green orbs and stuff like that. And then the other thing we could end up doing is we could put a dark wash on this and see how it turns out, and the brown wash. So with this Arteco paint there, so we'll give that a shot. So yeah, where do you get all that stuff? Local store or online orders? That's a good question. The spray paint I end up getting at the Military PX on post at Camp Humphreys. And then there's some stuff that I get off post, some supplies using coupon to order that stuff. They're pretty decent for timeliness. And then other stuff I get off of Amazon, but that's going to take like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Oh, you know what I need? So, yeah, that's how I get those things. And even then, slight interesting issue is the fact that, here it is. Another interesting issue is that there's some stuff that I can't get in Korea as far as like art supplies and other things as well. It's very hard to find some things. It's kind of hard in a couple of ways because one, let me set this up so we can get this. so I can drink my coffee and talk. What are you doing? Okay. So it's interesting to try to get stuff in the fact that you either have to order it or you online here in Korea, and searching for stuff online in Korea is different because we've been away for so long and we came back and retired here that my wife doesn't know the names of some things in Korean or how you would type that out in Korean to search for it because we've been Americanized. You know, you go to Home Depot, you go to Walmart, you go onto Amazon, everything's typed in English. And so finding the right translation for certain words are very different. So, like, for example, our bathroom. We've got a glass door on our bathroom, and it's got like a little thing a little rubber thing, gasket that goes up against the other side, and you have the gasket. Well, you would call that like, I don't know, trim or something like that. But in Korean, it's a totally new word to my wife because they didn't have those things back when we were here. And then, so that made it kind of interesting. And so trying to find out the names of things, and then some things aren't called the same. So it's not just like a Romanized version of the word that sounds the same in English and sounds similar in Korean. It's just not that. There's totally different words. And then, there's no Home Depots, there's no Lowe's, there's no one big do-it-all, home improvement store. You have to go to a series of places, one for plumbing, one for tile, one for this, one for that, one for construction, one for tools, associated with those things that you're trying to do. So, and those stores are spread out all over the place. So the Home Depot concept hasn't really hit Korea, unfortunately. So trying to get home improvement stuff takes a lot longer. So there's that. But for the most part, that's where the family comes in. The wife's family and her nieces and things like that, which are grown and have kids, they help us out in some stuff. But for the most part, we're pretty good. And in the apartment complex, the office building, the management company, they can kind of point you in the right direction. Some of them won't because they don't want to be liable for anything. So I kind of understand that. But yeah, it's quite the interesting little life that you have when you're living in Korea. So other than that, ordering stuff is good. It's not as easy as it is in the United States of ordering stuff online because there's a lot of phone phishing, identity theft, and everything is tied to your phone. There's way more text phishing, criminals and unsavory people that will send you texts and stuff like that to try to get your bank account or whatever. Steve, good morning from the snowpocalypse. Yes, it is snowing. It is snowing, and it's getting a little bit thicker too. So yeah, we've got the snow thing going on. But yeah, I got a lot of phishing examples, get a lot of text messages. Oh, your account's going to be suspended. Click on this link to reactivate, or this is your bank, and your account's going to get closed. So they've got a lot of stuff like that. Our thing is do not click anything. Do not click anything. It's so much better just to contact your bank. So directly. Don't click links on your phone. And ferret this snowpocalypse. Hey, so how's the snow up in, I don't know, I heard New York was supposed to get hammered. You got 20 inches last night. Oh, are you in New York? You should go and shovel snow for like $30 an hour or whatever it is that Mom Donnie said. You have to have 2 forms of ID, otherwise you can't get paid. But he also believes that you shouldn't have to provide any ID to vote. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that happens. So You need an ID for to get government grants, but they don't want you to have an ID. Well, maybe that's because it's fake IDs. You can have a fake ID and you can get government grants and handouts, but yeah, to vote, no, we can't do that. Lord forbid. Lord forbid you have to provide an ID to vote. Besides, almost every country in the world requiring an ID to vote. That is absolutely crazy. But yeah, we're getting a little bit of snow. But we have our apartment complex and we have maintenance workers that do that. So yeah, no shoveling snow for me. No shoveling snow for me. And yeah, got my latte. I am rocking, by the way, a French vanilla with a light bean roast, which is also good. Let's see, other things that we have. On my phone, I'll get, you can get emergency services, obviously, but we'll get emergency text about, like the upcoming snowstorm, wind advisories, air quality advisories, things like that. Ferret says, I actually like the idea to ask people to volunteer to battle the snow. Those little words are tiny. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for volunteering. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy who's an American expat here in Korea. Let's see. I always have to show my ID to vote. I know, right? At least, anyway. But I'm all for volunteering. I think volunteering should be a thing that we have. And when I went through school, you had to do some type of community service type thing. At least the school that I went to. Of course, they also had shop classes, industrial trades, and things like that. That was intertwined with the school, so that was kind of a good thing. And they taught math, history, and science, and a lot of it. These days, not so much. But with that, you also did some stuff in the community. So with your social studies classes and so on and so forth, there was some type of engagement that you had to do. And that was kind of good because it gives you a broader perspective than what you have in your home and in your school and around your circle of friends. It really opens up your mind to see more of the world. And that kind of continued on in my life as I was in the military. We would do outreach to communities and things like that. And then, of course, being when I was in church, we reached out to communities. I wish a little bit more than we did before. We got Sultan. Yay, morning. Well, afternoon-ish. We really had a hard bash. Actually doing well. I can't read that. I'm on my phone, so it's so hard to read. The characters are like this big. I don't know. It doesn't, from what I see as an independent, it looks like New York is not doing a good time. Sultan says, no here yet. Oh, it's up here in Anjani in Pyeongtaek area. So apparently I think it's supposed to move down, but we're getting some little bit of snow. It's good. But from what I see in the news and independent agencies and things like that, which is an interesting perspective to have, besides just having a slanted view of things, get your news from various sources and you can kind of wade through the propaganda and stuff like that. And you can see that New York's not doing well. I mean, they just tried to bump up their budget up to $127 million or $1 billion or something like that. Hell, that's way more than the entire state of Florida. So New York City has bumped their budget up more than the entire state of Florida. And they raided their rainy day fund, and they also tapped into the retirement fund for city workers and things like that. So that is a huge red flag. Holy crow. I don't know. When I was in Colorado and I worked for the state and we had para and things like that, there was certain things that were off limits that the state could not do, or a city for that matter. There's no way that the city could reach in and borrow money from the retirement fund or, just take over the rainy day fund or the emergency fund or things like that. Usually most states, but for a city, to allow a city to do something like that, holy crow, that just tells you that there's been corruption. And then the taxing and the new property tax that comes up, that is going to be coming up, that's almost 10%. somebody sent me a thing about Mamdani. Yay! It is very pro Mamdani, and but we have some other interests in like hobby stuff. So, but yeah, it is. It's very quite thing. Very transparent about what's happening. Something coming from a non. I can't read it. All these things are popping up too fast and they're really small. But the problem is now you're going to raise property taxes up almost 10%, 9.5%, which, and transportation, he said that was going to be free. It's not free. He said he wasn't going to raise taxes. I just watched videos of that, of when he was running for office. No taxes, and now you're getting more taxes. And now he said, the budget's going to be balanced. Now it's exploded, and finding out it's in the red. Imagine that. What are the odds? Whether it's because of him or the past administration, it doesn't really matter. But it's just everything that he's promised, it just hasn't worked out. So, yeah, I'm not seeing that as a win. And yeah. And then again, I don't live in the United States anymore. Well, he simply didn't know how bad the past administration managed the budget. I somebody with a half a brain could have figured that out. That just shows me that he's incompetent because he went on the campaign. Now, this is just me. I'm not dissing you or anybody who likes Mamdani, but in my opinion, if I was going to run for office, I would look at the current condition of, the administration that's in office that I want to take over so that when I would go on the campaign trail, I would be knowledgeable and be able to make some claims and say, hey, we're going to do this and that. But he didn't do that. He jumped right off of the gun and says, oh, we're going to have free everything. And housing's going to be blah, 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 and free transportation, all this stuff. And then, kind of freezing rent and stuff like that. And now you have a number of New Yorkers that own properties that cannot rehab the properties and raise their prices and recoup those expenses. So there's a lot of property owners that are just abandoning up their properties. They're not renting them out. So that is taking units off the market, and they're going to wait until this administration is passed. Obviously, you're talking about a ton of rich people that have money to do that. Everyday people like you and me, hey, we got Terry on board. Cool, good morning, good afternoon. Everyday people, kind of like you and me, we don't have that capability. I was in real estate investing, and we had a number of properties, and yeah, we only had like a 3 to 6 month worth of expenses. So, and that was to account for vacancies, maybe emergency repairs, or redoing a property. They said they're looking into only 1 to 2% savings, just like with Doge. They promised. Dang it! Seriously, I wish those comments would stay up longer. It's like when I'm on my stream, I set on the eCam on my computer. I can bring those comments up, and they stay for an extended period of time. Let me see what we got here. No, I don't see anything. Oh, what's that do? Okay, no, there's highlight. Where's that? No, I don't want that. Okay, none of that has anything to do with comments. So, but yeah, it just seems like he made a lot of promises not based on any research whatsoever. He didn't look into the past administration, so that's on him, and I think it's just not good. Watch the interview he gave. He explained all the options that they're looking at right now. Oh yeah, I saw that. I watched that it was very interesting. But again, it's just, I just think it's not going well. It hasn't gone well for the past couple of administrations, and with this administration, I really don't think it's that begs the question, like the snowstorm, as it's snowing out here. He wants to hire New Yorkers to do that. Well, you already have city workers that are authorized to do that, are getting paid to do that. Now, the rumor mill, again, I admit this is rumors, that these people are going to be getting paid more than the city workers, and these people, which are going to have more jobs than the city workers. So that's going to be an added expense to doing the small. Something popped up, said something about tax. I don't know. I really don't like this phone live thing. It is horrible. As if I'm up close to the phone, then you see my ugly face more than you should, and still the comments are really small and they go away like after a few seconds. But yeah, I'm just not, I don't have a warm fuzzy. Don't have a warm fuzzy. And the fact that he has no business experience, really has almost zero experience whatsoever. And the grandiose claims that he made were too good to be true. So yeah, that's kind of what people, that's that saying. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. But yeah, let's put it this way. I hope things get better. I always do. But I'm not going to hold my breath with Mom Donnie. It just, yeah, he is just kind of, there's too many cut and paste things that he has done when he was running for office, and then he got into office, and then the stuff that he wants to do, stuff that he wants to do in New York City that is against state rules and laws and policy. And it's just like, wow, this is, they can already leave as 1% would change their mind. I think you're talking about thanks for writing in all caps. It makes it easier. I appreciate that. I think you're talking about the millionaires or the rich people that leave New York over one or 2% of additional tax. That's the freedom of being an American citizen, is you have that opportunity to do that. Which now, if we talk about the other side of the United States, we talk about California. People are going on social media, and I haven't verified this, but I've seen the pictures of said paperwork where people who moved out of California is sending them letters in where they have to prove that they moved out of California. And there's some talk about California wants to do this retroactive, they want to tax you for moving out of the state of California. That is insane. That is totally insane. We have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when you talk about, Corsair says, especially if businesses move and take their jobs, that could be problematic anywhere, whether it's a red or a blue state. If a business leaves, when a bunch of businesses left overseas and went overseas, that was bad for the United States because it took away not only jobs, income, it took away tax revenue for families and businesses alike, and it was really, really bad. So getting jobs back in the United States is a good thing, in my opinion. I don't know. But in California, now it looks like they're trying to reach out to these people, and there's 4 or 5 people that I saw on TikTok, so Lord knows how true that is. I know. It's like the Easter Bunny. Maybe it's true. We'll have to wait and see. But people have shown letters, and those could have been obviously faked, but if people showing letters supposedly from the state of Colorado saying, hey, you need to send us moving receipts from U-Haul or this or that or whatever to prove. I highly doubt anything is going to change. All these businesses are in one of the most expensive cities because they want to be there. And some about taxes and changing. Some will stay. Some will stay. But we also know that when taxes get really, really high within the 50 United States, and one state raises their taxes to almost abusive levels compared to other states, and again, that's just comparison, but some businesses are going to be like, hey, yeah, when it comes to taxes, we're paying too much taxes. It's cutting into our bottom line. We're not as profitable, which any business would do. I had a couple of businesses, so, unfortunately, I never got government handouts. Never got government handouts. The taxes, we got write-offs and things like that, but it was like break even, make a little bit. Pay ourselves and make a very little bit. So it was just right on the cusp of, whether it's going to, pass or fail type of thing. But when you get to the point of where there's too many taxes, and then you, like for instance, the real estate business that we had, that if we had more taxes, it would be like, yeah, we can't do this anymore. And then there are some rich people, obviously there are some rich people that own businesses, and when they are broached for this topic of higher taxes to pay for more goods and services and so on and so forth, in this myriad of things that they want to give money to, it's of saying like, what was it? It was like 2 million. I don't know if it was New York or California, but they were talking about raising the taxes again. It always seems to be a thing, to raise the taxes again on businesses. And for something that's $2 million or more, and excuse me, I think it was a Peter Schiff or somebody else, I can't remember. But he said, if I was a businessman that made $2 million, and if I knew that $2,001 I was going to get taxed even more, he said, I'll just close up shop. Because it gets to the point of where you do the math and you do the numbers, it's like it doesn't make sense. So he said, businesses and rich people would be like, hey, well, I'm going to work X amount of months out of the year, and as soon as I hit my 2 million mark, I'm just going to go on vacation, shut everything down, because it makes more financial sense. When you get to that level of taxation where businesses are looking at it in that point of view, holy crow, that tells you we've got some oppressive taxes. And then, they have the option to move their businesses to other states. So the strange thing is you got some states that do really well, that they're fiscally responsible, and then you have other states that are not, but they love giving money out. And because they feel that the government that's how we take care of the people, is the government's job is to take care of people, instead of kind of going back to the volunteering thing, that people should be taking care of people. So I think we've missed something. I don't have answers for the world to fix all the world's problems, obviously. Otherwise, I would have already done it. And then we'd all be sipping lattes and enjoying life. Nobody can tell me that this millionaire would ever have that, even at 90% after tax 2 million, because after, crap, dang it. Something about, just using uppercase, it seems to help Steve read. I'm not trying to scream. Oh, no, absolutely, I get it. I appreciate the larger text. The problem is not the large, is the large text, all caps, helps. The problem is that those comments only stay up for like 3 seconds. I can read like 3 lines and then it goes away. So let me see, what's this button here? Yeah, that doesn't help anything. I don't have anything to like set the time on comments like I do on my streaming software. So I apologize. I didn't think I'd be talking about this. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just very, very problematic. And proposals raise income tax to 16.8, highest in the nation, property tax almost 10, 11 to business, something, not sure where, something. Not sure where the 1 or 2% raise in business. I'm not sure about that either. I don't have anything at my disposal to check that. But I've seen that being floated around. Well, it's only going to be 1 or 2% more. The problem is with death and taxes, you can only pretty much die once. Taxes, you can raise those until you die. And yeah, that's so they're both finite, but one, there's definitely, when you're done, you're done. With taxes, you can just keep raising it, and eventually people are going to wake up and smell the coffee, and they're going to say, you know what? For my taxes, the return on investment, or the return that I get from such high taxes, again, it's like shopping. Do I get a good return on it? And if people don't think that they're getting a good return on it, they're going to leave. That's just kind of a Barney basic thing. And yeah, we had an opportunity to do real estate in Connecticut and Virginia because we had family that was in Virginia. But it was just it was too, it was too much. We just couldn't do it. It would be razor thin profits and just one thing. Oh, what was the other place? There was another place, but the eviction process was like a year, and it's like, no, you've got some good deals. Oh, what state was that? What city? It's on the tip of my tongue. But it was a family friend. Property tax is 12.3%. 9.5 would raise that to be 13.5. Ooh, ouch, ouch. Ooh, that hurts me. Just ooh, ouch. That high of a tax, now you're putting added tax burden on the little people, the normal people. So that's problematic. Yeah, what was that place? So anyway, it ends up that the eviction process, when we were doing investment real estate, it was a buddy, a dad's family friend that we're going to get into business with in another state. And it ends up that the eviction took like over a year. And even then, it could go over because their eviction laws were so pro tenant and so anti landlord. And for just let's say, mom and pop, and, they have a rental house, maybe they have two, and they don't have the money to carry a property for 12 months to try to get tenants out. And usually we had some bad tenants in Colorado, and, we had to get them evicted because they weren't paying. And then finally, through the eviction process, they trashed the entire place. So we had to redo all the entire kitchen. We had to do the carpets. We had to do all the toilets. All the sinks were broken. The cabinets were broken. Walls had holes in them. They threw chairs through the walls. They cut electrical wires, so we had to get electrical done. And all of that had, of course, be up to code. You got to redo electrical. You can do some splices, but there was so many cuts in the wire that we had to spend, I think it was like 12 grand just on the electrical to get the entire electrical done, because they tore out the electrical box, the breaker panel. They destroyed it. And these were the people that passed the credit check, and they just ended up, they got it in their head that, you know what, I'm just not gonna, why am I paying rent? Everything should be free. And so they stopped paying rent. And then on the eviction, it was like, hey, we worked with them. We said, hey, you need a month or two or whatever. We gave them 4 months to pay their rent. We basically gave them 4 free months of rent. And they just kind of gave us the bird and said, yeah, screw it. And so that was 4 months it was gone. That's 4 months it was lost, 4 months of no mortgage payments, 4 months of no insurance. And at the end of, it was almost a year, what ended up happening is we basically had to, the majority of the walls in the house, drywall, all had to be taken out. They had to redo the electrical. It was like 10 or 12 grand or something like that. You're talking drywall, electrical, you're talking cabinets. We had to redo the entire kitchen. We had to redo both bathrooms. And, then there's paint, and then there's lights because they destroyed the lights. Electrical outlets, we had to do those. They broke windows, so we had to do windows as well on top of that. So, and then, this was at the end, just before they got evicted, just before, the sheriff's office comes in and hey, get your butts out of there. Yeah, they destroyed the property. And so now for a mom and pop type of investment who has a property that still has mortgage on it and is operating at maybe $100 profit a month, maybe $200 a month, if they played their cards right. Ours was about $150 a month. What do? We hit rock bottom on that. Why do people got to be a-holes? Yeah, I know, exactly. So then on top of all this with bad tenants, now you have increased property taxes, and then you have things like New York where it's like, oh, well, you can't, we have rent control, you can't raise your rent. Well, if my property taxes went up 1%, that's $100 a year, the cost of living in New York. I would not feel it especially, yeah, you might not, but If you look at somebody who has some investment properties that's renting out, that $100 can go up a lot. And business properties, that goes up even more. So 13.5 is something about that. Yeah, so it's until you've been a landlord and own some properties and you're operating on that razor thin line of we're going to break even, but most of the years, like for that house, that year was trash for us. We had to write that off. There's depreciation, things like that. If there was no tax benefits, we would have went under. But eventually we did go under. So, but that was a whole nother story. Some of you know that. But, the whole thing is that freezing rents in that situation. Let's say I lived in Colorado and they froze the rent. You can't raise it more than, 3 or 4%. Well, the entire property was trashed. So I have to get a loan to fix everything. And Lord forbid you have to pay somebody to do the work for you. We did the work ourselves. But again, now that takes time away from my job. We're working after hours and things like that. But if you have to pay somebody else to do it, oh, good Lord. Now you're getting to the point of where with all of those repairs and expenses and labor and everything to redo the property, now you're actually upside down and you have that additional $100, $200, $300 increase in the property tax. It might be just $100 a month, but add all those little things up and the big expense of rehabbing a property because of a bad tenant or there's new laws enacted or policies for whatever it is. That's crippling. That's crippling. And I'll tell you, we did have some houses where they were so trashed. And even though these people passed a background check, first and last month's rent, the whole 9 yards, good credit. I'm not talking, bottom of the barrel credit. I'm talking good credit. And people just change at the drop of a hat. And they just got it in their minds of like, screw this, I'm not going to pay the man. And it's like, and what do you do? So we had to sell the house at a loss. It just, it gets to and then you throw on taxes. Yeah, 1% for a millionaire, a billionaire. But technically, we were millionaires with the amount of assets that we had. I didn't have $1 million in the bank by any means, but we had the assets on paper. Ooh, but no. We were scraping by. We were cutting coupons the whole 9 yards, and we had to let the property go back. And the business had to take a loss, and that was one of the things was where it was kind of nosediving, and then combine that with some family fraud. That was always fun. Then it just ended up being a bad thing. But with we took into account when we went into real estate investing and looking at the averages of property tax and how much it went up every year for the past 10 years, we kind of projected that into our plan to see if it was profitable for X amount of years until we could pay all the properties off. I think it was like 17 years we were going to be able to have the first one paid off, and we would have like 5 or 6 in the first year paid off, and then the next one we roll it all towards the next property. And so by 20 years, everything would be like paid off, or 25 years or something like that, free and clear. And then we do an exchange for those properties for apartment building. That was the whole plan, that we're going to do multi-unit properties until the family fraud came in. But when you come, and people have plans, business plans that are dependent upon stability. And when you have a city or a government or a municipality that raises taxes just because they want to give free shit away, people are going to take that personally. And it's going to ruin small businesses, small investors, and people, the mom and pops that just have 2 or 3 properties that are just trying to use that to help fund their retirement and pass something on to their kids, to help them have a better life. But yeah, what do you do with that? And when you're faced with the straw that breaks the camel's back, And I think that's what it comes down to. It's the 1%. It's not that the 1% is bad in the grand scheme of things. It's just 1%. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But it's not the 1%. It's all of the things that we have going on, and you just get so much frustrated, and you see your profit is going down, 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 down. I think the current non-tariff on-off chaos is way more destabilizing for businesses than the 1%. Tariffs, I can say, with our real estate investing and the businesses, a couple of businesses I had, tariffs didn't bother me, didn't bother us. It's not whoop-de-doo, Okay, we have a different camera angle today. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We're in the living room, and we're just kind of ranting and raving, and because we got some snow going on. And I was just going to make this a quick video, but yeah, you can see we got the snow starting to hit the ground. We got the latte. The flakes are getting bigger. So yeah, we're doing a little bit different today. But and then to get all riled up. And then we got talking about how to fix the world, and we got on New York. And California is supposedly amazing. Snow in Korea is pretty rare. Remind you of Denver. Actually, snow hasn't been too bad in this area around Pyeongtaek. It's been less than what I remember in the 80s and 90s. So we still get snow, but it's not as bad as what it used to be, from what I remember anyway. And here in Pyeongtaek, just because of where it's located, we don't get as much snow as other parts of Korea. So that probably has something to do with it as well. But yeah, it's quite the interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, eventually, I think going back to like California is talking about, they've been floating that idea around, is to tax people for leaving California. And the fact that we're seeing people that are claiming to have supposed letters and showing said letters from the state of California saying you need to prove that you actually left California. People are like, the one guy, he moved 7 years ago and he got the letter. He showed the letter, he showed everything, and it was like, it looked pretty real to me. But again, you can fake anything. But if that's the case, who's going to stay? They are going to tax you to leave California. Think about that for a second. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If I'm in the pursuit of happiness and you're trying to tax me for leaving in the pursuit of happiness, I don't know. I'm thinking there's a lawsuit there. I'm just going to throw that out there. That could be a Supreme Court doohickey. Oh yeah, that it's amazing that they're even thinking about that. When I left California in '98, let them try to come after me. Oh, that was on what basis would they? I don't know. If taxation really exists, really works, it's possible first world country like UK. I'm sorry, I can't read these comments. And then somebody makes a comment, and then it goes away, and then somebody does a comment shortly, and it goes away. I really wish. Now I got to leave Virginia before it turns into California. Oh yeah, that would be rough. But yeah, could you imagine? I mean, just floating the idea of, you know what? Our tax revenue is down. How can we get some more money? Let's tax people for leaving the state. No one in their right mind would have thought about that 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The founding fathers would have shot people for that. In the Constitution, no taxation without representation. If you're not part of that state and your primary residence isn't in Texas anymore, how can they tax you? Again, there's just constitutional, there's lawsuit all over that if they try to actually do that. So, yeah, those things piss me off. Those kind of like the other government stuff pisses me off. I don't know how many of you are veterans. I'm a retired veteran. And the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, they did a number of studies years ago on how to cut money, how to save money from the VA budget, the Veterans Administration budget. This is when I was really, really deep into politics and all that stuff. Own nothing and be happy. Yeah, yeah. Gotta own some stuff. Fellow vets here, good, good, good. Appreciate it. The thing is when I saw that the CBO was doing these studies, which are millions of dollars to conduct these studies on how to save money in the VA, and there's only one way to do that: cut veterans' benefits. Well, screw the veterans. And I brought it up, and I was like on some veterans websites and so on, and forums, and saying, hey, CBO is talking about, they're doing multi-million-dollar studies on how to cut expenditures, which means cutting services and things for veterans. I was attacked like there was no tomorrow. It was like, how dare you say that? Oh, that'll never happen. We're veterans, we're guaranteed this and that. And it's like, oh, oh, you're so naive. Oh, I wish I was a child still, believing in Santa Claus and that the government is here to help. Yeah, there was people that I knew that disowned me. They unfriended me in real life because I pointed these things out. And they're like, oh, they would never do that. And they took a hard nosed stance against me. And it's like, well, if you think that, then we shouldn't be friends. And it's, dude, seriously, we've known each other for 10 years. Nope, it was gone. And now, what are we seeing? The VA rule that said, hey, we're going to cut benefits. And then it's like, then there's this massive outrage, and then they suspended it. And then, oh, well, we're not going to do this. And then they said, we never planned on using it. That's total bullshit. That is total BS, because you don't spend millions of dollars by the CBO doing $1 million studies, multi-million-dollar studies, then the VA doing theirs and having committees and paying people and doing all that and incorporating that into the VA system and kind of sliding that in, trying to be, sneaky about it, and then saying, we're going to cut everybody's knees out from under them, and you're not going to get your disability. Oh, you're effed up. Oh, you have PTSD. You have all these things that happened, and we're going to cut your disability. We're just going to, since you're on medication, you're fine. No, that is not fine, because normally a normal person who is healthy does not have to take medication. So they are under the thing of saying, you know what? Well, you're broke on so many levels, and you're taking medication. You're fine now. No, it's not fine. Forget about the tons of pills that you have to take that wreak havoc on your kidneys and your liver. Forget about that. Or the fact that even pills don't cure you. Oh, that pissed me off. That pissed me off. And then, so after all this uproar, vets just kind of came out of the woodworks, me included, congressmen, senators, anybody that I could shoot an email to. You better not do this. You better stand against this, blah, 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 all of this. I won't vote for you ever again. I said that to everybody, and to the Republicans and Democrats, both of them, because I'm an independent. Better play both sides of the aisle. And they stopped it. But here's the thing. Then the VA, the guy in charge of the VA, he's like, well, we had to stop that. We're not going to get rid of the rule, but we're not going to use it. We're suspended. We're not really going to use it, but we're not going to get rid of the rule. What does that tell you? It's kind of like a guy who says, I know, wife, you caught me with the hooker on the street. I had condoms in my hand, and I was ready to do the deed, and you caught me, but you didn't really catch me. But no, I really wasn't going to do it. She was just asking for directions, but I'm going to keep the condoms. Why do you need to keep the condoms? Why do you need to keep those? Well, it's not for me, but it just, I'm just suspending them. It just in case somebody else needs it, we have it. That's basically what the VA is saying by saying, oh, we just suspended it. We're never going to use it, but we're going to keep them. Yeah, they're going to cheat on us like white on rice. It's going to be absolutely insane. Any chance that they get, they're going to cut benefits for veterans, and that is especially true because they're already doing it. It's little by little by little, they're cutting more and more and more. So, for example, I have some buddies of mine that had sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is you don't get enough oxygen when you sleep because you stop breathing. Oracle's building $1 million square data facility in Abilene, Texas. Thanks, California. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A bunch of companies related. But with the sleep apnea, you don't breathe. You stop breathing X amount of times per hour, and it can be pretty severe, and it can even lead to death. So that it's kind of a serious thing. I've got a CPAP machine. Go figure. So with that, you get 50% disability and a machine that I have to be hooked up to for the rest of my life. A couple buddies of mine went and filed secondary claims, and they got reevaluated on everything. And on their sleep apnea, it went from 50% to 0 to goose egg. Now, 0% means you're still rated, and they will pay for your medical treatments and your CPAP machine and supplies and all that stuff, but you don't get any disability money, which is interesting because if you get Social Security disability, that's a whole other thing. I wouldn't want data center anywhere near me. The power bills are going to explode. Yeah, they could, but a lot of those companies they work out deals with the states, and it ends up being tax write-offs, and then they have to bring X amount of jobs and so on and so forth. So it can be good for both, but. We've got wind power, we've got all these alternative energies, and so that should be good. But that's neither here nor there. With the VA, so these guys that I know got their disability from 50% down to 0. And the other guy that I know, he got his disability, he has a buddy that got his, went from 50 to 30%. And the thing is, it's like, the doctor is like, what? No, this doesn't make sense. And in the VA's own stuff, it says that they weren't supposed to do that before. Then they changed the policy. So they moved the goalpost. They moved the goalposts on all this stuff, so they give us less and less and less and less. And so now you have things in the VA where if you have your disability, if you go back and file for other disability claims or your conditions get worse, which they always do, now you have things where the veterans are not going to go get reevaluated. They're not going to get help because it's an abusive system. And it punishes people for going in there, and they reduce their disability. It's just absolutely insane, absolutely insane. I missed a few comments because I was ranting. So whatever they ended up saying. Yeah, sure. So yeah, it gets to that point of where it's like you're making rules that are so oppressive that veterans are not going to get help, and you're just going to keep them medicated. And as long as they've got a medical device and or they're taking medication, you're fixed. You're not fixed because normal is not having a CPAP machine. Normal is not taking 5 or 6 or 7 medications. Normal is not going to see a therapist about PTSD, depression, anxiety, and wanting to not do good things. Yeah. We do actually get 875 million a year in something. Comments just don't stay up long. I don't know. It just, the fact that they made policies now and changed it shows that the government is actively reducing how they're supporting benefits. And it pisses me off because then on illegal immigrants, they get a ton of stuff and they're not even American citizens. And here's the other rub is you have illegal immigrants that are refugees and they got asylum status and they're getting welfare, they're getting SNAP and food assistance, they're getting housing, they're getting utility grants and subsidies, so they don't have to pay the high utility bills like everybody else does. And yet they take vacations to go back to the country that they claimed they were being oppressed in to visit family and go on vacations. How can you said you were fleeing, you were afraid for your life, if you and your family members, your wife and your children, and you claimed asylum, but yet multiple times a year you're going on vacation to the very country that you claimed was trying to kill you. And you're getting all these benefits and you're not even a citizen. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's wrong, in my opinion. Now, you might have a different opinion. I get it. Everybody can have an opinion. And the cool thing is, with the people that usually frequent my streams, even though there's some of us that have very differing opinions, we can still remain civil. We can remain mature. We can have different opinions about politics or things or gaming or, Superman's better than Silver Surfer or whatever it is. We can have, some disagreements. But as people as a whole, we understand that we need to be good people regardless of what side of the aisle that you're on, or if you're even in an aisle. If you're not in an aisle, it's just be a good person. And I think for me, that just points me that more individuals should be, like in the beginning of this, they talked about volunteering and things like that. We should have more people that are volunteering and doing things and giving back to the community and helping those that are less fortunate. Like I said, even when I was in the military, when I was getting food stamps because I was getting WIC because I wasn't making enough money. So yeah, I'm getting food stamps for my baby because I wasn't making enough money. As I was full-time military, active duty, I was still doing things as part of my job as being a well-rounded leader to give back to the local community. Do we see anybody doing that today? It's very rare. It's very rare. I mean, I'm just saying that was what was required of me back when I was in the military. So even though I wasn't making enough money and I was getting food stamps for my baby, WIC, not that my baby's name was WIC, but it was called Women, Infant, and Children. And so there was kind of like, it was a welfare benefit because you didn't make enough money. And they would supply, babies, necessities and food and baby food and formula and all that stuff and some other items that you could get at the grocery store. It was food stamps for your kid. Yeah, we still went out. And when I was a soldier, we would do community things. We would give back to the community. When I was an NCO, we had special projects for leaders in NCOs that would go work out into the community. It was just a thing. We don't see a lot of that today. And so it's not the norm. We're actually seeing the exact opposite of where it's like, you know what, I'm going to get mine regardless. And I'm not going to help anybody else out. We see it in places like New York and California, Washington State, where, somebody could be beaten up on the sidewalk and people are just like, pregnant lady gets beat up. People just walk around her. Don't call an ambulance. Obviously she was mugged and beaten, but nobody wants to help, let alone actually make an impact in their neighborhood. I remember doing food drives. I remember doing clothing drives for the homeless. And when we did homeless ministry, I did that for a while. We would go around neighborhoods in a big truck. Hey, you got any old clothes or whatever, stuff that you just throw away or just sitting there that needs to be thrown away? Don't throw it away. Give it to us. We're gonna go out and we're gonna help the homeless. Disenfranchised families, the whole 9 yards. We did all that stuff, and the smaller communities were like that. I've noticed in the bigger cities you don't get that as much, and especially you don't see that a lot in the places that I lived, like in Washington, California, Colorado. Colorado, it kind of depended. If you were southern Colorado in the smaller towns, you would see stuff like that, but in the bigger cities, you wouldn't. And they would have outreach, but it was always dependent upon if they got funding and got government grants. If they didn't have government grants, nobody was lifting a finger to do anything. What was that? Dang it. I really don't like this phone. I'm trying to convince my daughter in Ohio to even consider recycling. They don't separate their trash because it's too much of an effort. Yeah. I saw, what was the video? It was like California does all the recycling thing, and then there was a video that shows the trash truck, and they just took, the paper, plastic, glass, everything is separated, and they just threw it all in the same truck, and it went to the same landfill, and they just dumped it all in one big pile. This is why we need AI, not for replacing the ordinary folks. I don't know who's in charge of the AI and who is the AI biased. Can AI be biased? I think it can. I think it can. I don't know. Anything that people do, you can screw it up. So anyway, yeah, it's quite the interesting thing here. Hell, we've got recycling here in Korea, which is good. Korea's good because they do the cardboards, different types of plastics, and then of course your food. If you have usable food, that goes to state farms and things, for animals and agriculture and things like that. They'll make compost. Other food scraps that can't be used as food or compost, that gets separated into something else. But there was an article, actually there's a news thing, clip that showed that when they come and pick up all the different types of plastics, there's like 5 different types of plastics that you have to separate your plastics. Clear, white, this, that, whatever, different types of plastics. They found out that trash company comes and picks it all up, and all the plastics go into the same pile, and they all get processed and recycled or whatever. So why are we separating them into 5 or 6 different categories if it's all going to go back into the same big pile, and it all goes back into the same pile? They actually have people, reporters, go and check it out, and there's no reason to separate it. Just put all your plastics in one area, and that's it. That's all you have to do. But if you don't, you can get fined. So yeah, there's some crazy stuff that goes on here in Korea too. It's not all roses and everything. So, but for the most part, people are more respectful here. People are kind, things like that. Maybe not all recycle plants have the ability to separate themselves. Let AI run the world. Oh, I don't know about that. You seen iRobot? Yeah, it's the Borg. that's the extreme. But Korea, somebody came up with the idea of saying we need to recycle, and again, it's kind of my wife calls it the upside down world of Korea, where they do things and it's like it doesn't make sense. I go through in my spare time to salvage old electronics, something, and there was another comment that fades out. It pops in. The next comment that comes up will count, and I'll show you how fast those things go. Because I promise you, I'm not blowing anybody off. These comments are really only up here for a couple of seconds. So here it is. Far from the rich needs to please the workforce. As soon as they didn't doubt, there will be good for any, and then it fades out. So maybe 4 seconds. But there's, here in Korea, and it's everywhere, but here in Korea, they have places where there's stoplights where there shouldn't be stoplights. It's just like somebody's extremely low IQ nephew in government who worked for so-and-so got a job and said, hey, well, we need he's the boss's nephew. We got to put him somewhere. Well, he's dumb as a bag of hammers. Well, we can't, because he's the boss's family. We got to give him a job. So let's put him in charge of, I don't know, streetlights? Let's put him in charge of streetlights. And then somebody puts up a streetlight where you don't need a streetlight. And it's a little frustrating at times because you'll be sitting at a light on a road, and then you have like an apartment complex, like an old one, like 20, 30 years ago. And you never see anybody driving out of the apartment complex and then you got to wait there for like 2 minutes. And there's nobody waiting you're just waiting because it's red. And it's like, seriously, really? We can't put this, it's on a forever timer. It's, if you get caught in one of those, you'll know what I'm talking about because you'll be like, that's why you look for other ways to drive around in Korea because you know there's those stupid stoplights that are there for no reason. It's just like, it's almost like it's a small apartment complex, maybe 4 or 5 stories, 6 stories high. Do we really need to sit for 2 minutes at a light and you wait and nobody comes out? It should be like motion activated, but they don't have that here. We got George. George says, howdy. I read that, then it went away. So yeah, Korea's got some wild things going on here in Korea. Things that don't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because we've been away from Korea for so long. And even my wife is from Korea, born and raised in Korea. We've been gone long enough to where the things that have developed in the way that they are now, 30 some odd years later or whatever, 25, 30 years later, doesn't make sense to my wife because we've been so Americanized or Westernized. So we come back to Korea and it's like, what the heck are you talking about? And why do you do it like this? And then it's like, we ask why, and we get looked at like, are you crazy? This is normal. Why would you not, why do you think this is not normal? Is kind of the thing. And so that's what we run across sometimes. Me, I'm a foreigner, obviously. What are the odds? My wife looks 100% Korean. She speaks, reads, writes Korean, the whole 9 yards. So when we go to the bank or we deal with utilities or whatever, they tell us things and here's this and that, and then we find out some differing information. It's like, why in the hell would they do that? Why wouldn't they tell us this at the beginning? And we have to remember that they think everybody knows everything about how to do things in Korea, especially if you look Korean. Or even as an American, I don't look Korean, but they still assume that I know all, excuse me, that I know all the intricacies about Korean banking. And I don't, but they assume that. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just us. If there was somebody that came in that in the United States that they were of a different ethnicity and obviously not an American citizen, they had problems speaking English. And it's like, when we did our business and stuff like that, doing rehabs and home improvement, if somebody did that, I would break it down Barney basic to let the person know this is how we do things, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. Explain it a lot. So the person knows exactly what they're getting and what's expected of us and them and so on and so forth. But for goods and services and all that stuff. But here in Korea, you have to ask the questions sometimes to get the answers. It's with banking, it's with business, it's with real estate, things. Real estate is another prime example here in Korea. Well, let's just back up. When we were in Colorado, if you go to a realtor, most people from the United States would say, you know what? They contact a realtor. The realtor says, hey, how you doing? Great, I'm looking for a property. Yeah, what kind of property are you looking for? We want 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We want a big backyard, small front yard. We want a terrace-scaped or xeriscaped, so you don't have to water and waste money. We want it, comfortable, this so many square feet, close to schools or whatever it is. You relay that to the realtor. And the realtor takes that and says, okay, I'm going to run with that and I'm going to bring you a bunch of things that fit your criteria. They will forward you listings with pictures of the current property and what it looks like right now. And you're like, okay, good to go. And you might have a little bit of variance within the price range, maybe 10, 15,000, a little bit of wiggle room on both sides, just in case. And I get that. Here in Korea, it's not that way. Apartment listings can have pictures. Some of the pictures are like 10 or 15 years old of the property when it was brand new, but not the current condition. And then you go visit the property and you're like, oh my God, what the hell happened? And realtors don't, it's not a problem. It's like, well, do you want it or not? Tile falling off the wall, there's a crack, and there's this and that. And ooh, yeah, no, we're good. This is no, this is not what we want. It's not close to schools. It doesn't have good walkability. Grocery stores are far away. Whatever it is, the criteria that you say, they will bring you some. We've experienced. They brought us some properties that were like, this is way more than what we asked for. It's not what we told you that we wanted, and they'll still do that sometimes. And then you'll have real estate agents that will only show the properties that they list, and they won't show you any other properties. So, case in point, a buddy of mine, or a guy that became my buddy, when him and his wife moved here, similar to what we ended up doing, he got with a realtor, and he says, "Hey, I checked out the brownstone." Uh, yeah, how's that not false advertising? It's just the way it is. It's the pictures are there, and when we ask the realtor, it's, oh, so you can see the general layout of the property. It's not about the current condition of the property. It's just these are pictures of what it looked like when it's new, so you can kind of get an idea. Okay, well, this is the living room. That's the kitchen. That's this, and there's some pictures there. And even the pictures are like lacking. If hands down, I would say American realtors do a lot better than Korean realtors. If you go on Zillow, if you go to your city or your town that you're in, and you can go to the website for Mary Jo's realtor office, you'll see current pictures of everything, in big pictures, so you can see the full. Koreans, there's some pictures where if you get on your phone, pretend this is a phone, instead of using your phone like this and taking pictures to get the full picture, they'll do this, like a TikTok, and they'll snap a picture. And it's like, you're showing me a door that leads into, I think it could be a bathroom or another bedroom. I'm not sure. Well, there's some counter space, but I'm not sure how big the counter space is because it's this position, not this. It boggles the mind. And it's like people that get on their phone and they open up the camera app and there's the photo, and it's like set on the default where it's kind of zoomed in, but you need to go back, like on iPhones, you go to the picture and you go to the next little button, 0.5, and all of a sudden you get a lot more of the picture. They don't do that. It's just, they just take pictures. They don't think about making a series of photos that accurately depicts the property so you can see it all. Like I said, there's so many pictures that I've seen that are kind of like TikTok frame of, instead of 16 by 9 or 9 by 16 or whatever it is, they screw it up. And it's like, and these are people that want to sell the properties. And it's like, put some good pictures up, but they don't. A lot of the listings have no pictures whatsoever. And so in Korea, that's the norm. So that really frustrated us because it's like, well, yeah, it sounds like it's everything we want. The pictures look good, and then we saw the property, and it's like, this property has been run hard and put away wet. No. I don't know what the deal is with that. Some plain dirty apartments with clothes or something. Yeah. It just boggles the mind, but that's normal here. And most, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But, so now you got to go look at properties that you're looking at pictures of the unit when it was first built, or maybe 2 or 3 or 5 years ago or whatever. And now you go see the property and it's, yeah, no. It's a waste of time. Why would you want to waste time? Have a targeted approach, give the people what they want to see with a little bit of wiggle room in there, and should be good to go. But they don't do that here. So, but the thing is, they don't care about it because that is their norm. It's just not normal for us. Not easy to live in Korea, says Swedish Forge. It's different. I'll just say it's different. But once we got our place, and we did a lot of research on our own, using Korean neighbor websites, and we were able to find the layout that we wanted, the square footage, and look at the areas that we wanted. And after a few failed attempts with some realtors, we found a realtor. It's like, hey, this is what we want specifically. And they worked with a lot of foreigners, so they were more, they kind of got it. They had a clue, and they're like, oh, okay, okay, gotcha, gotcha. We can help you out. And they did. But for the average Korean, it's not that way. Different places, different culture. I know, right? That's how it works. That's how it works. So it can be a little frustrating because you want to get settled down and you want to be efficient with your time, and you think other people should be efficient, especially realtors who are working on. Somebody tried to call me. Oh well. But if I'm going to spend X amount of time and I'm going to make X amount of money, I want to be the most efficient to get the most bang for my buck. The least amount of time to get the sale, as opposed to wasting a bunch of time. And it's that business thing. Why would I want to spend 30 hours doing a thing, and when I can do it in 5 and make the same amount of money? It just, but that's the way things are. Swedish said something about wouldn't want to live in Sweden. I don't know. Probably colder, but I'm kind of hot blooded, so I like the colder weather. Of course, then my family comes from Germany and that kind of part of neck of the woods. So, like I said, people that don't know, my last name is Wilson, but my real last name is Mach. My dad's name is Mach, M-A-C-H. So, and he was 6'4". He's a big dude. So, a lot of German. I just noticed my hair's messed up. Sweden, I would love to see, but I don't do cold very well, says Ferithus. Yeah, my wife doesn't do cold. She doesn't like cold well either. So, but I'd rather do cold than hot and humid. So, and my wife doesn't like hot and humid. So that's going to be coming up this summer. Nobody loves hot and humid weather here in Korea. Not even Koreans. they just kind of put up with it. It's not that cold here. Oh, okay. Cool. It's not cold. It's cool. Cool. So, but yeah, retiring here has been good. It's been good for us. The biggest thing is our expenses are half of what we were paying in the United States. So, and even though we've got some increases in property tax and stuff like that, it's just not as huge as the increases that we've seen in the United States. So, for example, we got a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, underground parking, and all that. We got a really nice apartment, nice area. And our property tax a year is like $250 a year. Our house in the United States, it's probably up to about $3,500 a year now, maybe more. And it goes up like $100 minimum every single year that we owned it. So that was like seven years or so. I have a friend that is going back home to Japan soon. Something about and then it fades out. I'm Swedish, and anything below -20 is cold. Okay. Ooh. Retirement with total control of time. No. Corsair says he pays $6,600 a year. Anything below 0 is cold. That's true. That's true. I don't mind it. Throw on a jacket, I'm good to go. Some gloves and a hat, everything's fine. So, my wife, she has a 3-degree variation. Ferris says Long Island, 11,500 a year property tax. Ooh, I had some family in Illinois. Holy crap, they're getting bent over. It was to the point of where, and they're diehard Democrats. I mean, like diehard Democrats. Holy crap. But they were even, last time we talked with them, they were complaining so much about the property tax and all the taxes. And they're still diehard Democrats, but they were talking about moving to a red state because of the taxes were so bad. George says, are we talking Fahrenheit or Celsius? Celsius 0 is 32 degrees, which is freezing. So I could deal with like 0 if I have coat, jacket, hat, and stuff like that. But I'm retired. So it's not like I'm digging a ditch. It's not like I'm working, we'll go outside for a few minutes or whatever, It's not that big of a deal. My wife has a 3-degree rule. And somewhere within the temperature, if it varies 3 degrees lower or hotter, that's the comfort zone is 3 degrees. So, and then, but that three degrees variance, she will be comfortable. But if you throw in a little bit of breeze, it'll immediately make it cold. So that's how the wife goes. I was meaning minus 20. Ooh, minus 20 is cold. That's cold. Our first year here in Korea, we didn't have a car, or it was the first winter here we didn't have a car, and we walked from the apartment, the other apartment that we were in that we were renting, to go on post, which was like a 20-minute walk to go to the gym on post. That was cold. It got down to 15, 12 degrees. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. It wasn't bad. The wife, she was freezing her tootsies off. So, but we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. But the summers are hot and humid here, and that's really when it gets really, really bad here in Korea. So nobody likes Korean summers. So, but speaking of weather, the end of March we'll be going to the Philippines. We'll be going to Cebu, Oslab, and Boracay. So we're going to do a little vacation there, and we'll see how that goes. I still remember studying the Frozen Chosen in school. Yeah, they don't teach anything about that anymore. Nope, that's a done deal. But they'll teach you how to put a prophylactic on a cucumber, but they won't teach you history or how to start a business or have a budget or, none of that stuff. None of the important things that you need to know as an adult. I mean, not that putting plastic on a cucumber is not important. It is, but we shouldn't have got rid of all those other things. So, I don't know, just saying. But anyway, that's what we got going on. And now, we've been doing this for a little bit, and we've still got snow. Kind of get a little bit of a flurry action. Let's see what it looks like. Aren't you going to visit Sweden? I don't think so. I don't think that's on the list. It's just a little cost prohibitive when we talk about that stuff. It's kind of outside of our budget going to Europe. Excuse me. So maybe it would be something I'd want to do. I don't know. I'm not sure. Hey, we got our model finished printing. Let's go get that. So, but we're going to visit places around this Asia area that we're in. So we're going to do that. And there we have, boom, we got our model. So this is, our print is complete. And again, those are going to be the wound trackers that I made some adjustments to. So we'll see how those go. And we even got the letters on there. They look a lot better. I kind of beveled the edges in Tinkercad, so that way it would, they would end up being a little bit better when it comes to getting those. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, look at that. You see those numbers? Oops. Those turned out great. Awesome. And I beveled them because if you just made them squared, then what would happen is you would need supports and they would just look all funky. But I beveled the edges, and so that made it easier for the layers to, oh, that came out really nice. And yeah, this is all print in place, no supports. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at those letters. All nice and readable. Let's see how this goes. And I noticed, because of the hobby store that I go to, a lot of people play Magic the Gathering. And of course, they have Warhammer 40K. So, and I saw that people charge, holy crow, people are charging $8, $7.50, sometimes almost $8, $6.50 for this little wound tracker thing. And yeah, I thought maybe you'd be able to make a few bucks, give a good product, make a few bucks, and then, yeah. So we're at the desk of painting. And so those are the guys that we did testing out these different spray paints and for my upcoming Necron army. And then that was that, excuse me, the Art Deco paint. That's a Lead Belcher wannabe, Art Deco Black Pearl, or Pearl Black. Yeah, that, I love that color. I love that color. It's got like a kind of a titanium type of blue to it, but it's also metallic. So we're going to do some glowing stuff on there, and we'll see how that goes. Let's see. I want to do that. I think I'm going to try this. And I'm going to see. Okay, hold on. Now, when I do this, I'm not going to be able to read comments, so don't freak out. So I need to see, is this going to, maybe I need to switch this around. And we'll see. How this goes. Now I'm doing this upside down because, well, wait a second. Maybe I can switch it around. Yeah, I know. No, I'm just gonna have to hit it like this. So I'll just have to remember that. The motion activated light is going crazy. So, like we ended up saying, here is this wound tracker that we have here, and the original one had sides, so I can still move this, but these kind of get in the way. And even with the original one, because I wanted this to be able to stand, if this was the floor or the table, that would be able to stand. But the ease of like moving these around makes it a little bit hard because of these edges. So with the new one, we kind of did this. Let's see if this fits. Hey, it fit. So do that. And we'll put that one there. I'll put that one there. And then we have this, and this should go right there. So now we have some real estate in which we can turn these, and then it also is able to stand on its own like that, and we've got clearance. Awesome. Or actually, I should be doing it. I was doing it upside down. I have to do it upside down so it looks right side up to you. So yeah, dig that. I think I like this. So they move independently, and it's got the little arrow on there so that you know, however many you got, and you can track your points to however many, or wounds or life or whatever. So yeah, that turns out great. So we'll just need a little bit of glue on there. And then I made a smaller one. I just scaled it down. We'll see if this is going to work. Ooh, I don't know. Might be a little, tolerance might be a little rough. That's working. And we'll do that. I'll do that. And boom, we should be good to go. So there, the same thing. Should be able to turn. And I like the numbers that they're raised, so it gives you something to grab onto so that you can rotate these a little bit. That tolerance on there is a little tight. There you go. So with that little bit of space, we can rotate that. And that's kind of small. So that'll work out. Cool. So it's a lot better than the previous one. So this other one, you can see how the letters were inset and they're all kind of like, it's okay. But then printing out, it's just not as nice and crisp and clean as this one is. So it used some weird numbers, but I think this one turned out good. So a little bit of change to that, and it turned out good. Nice. So there you have it. Yeah, pretty good stuff. But definitely looking at the lead belcher, or the lead belcher wannabe, with this Arteco black pearl, or pearl black, or whatever it is. That color just came out super, super nice. And that could be the color that I use for my Necron Combat Patrol. And how does that fare up with, like, this guy? So this Krylon Fusion has got some sparklies in there. And of course, this has a dark wash on it. But you can see on the base kind of how sparkly that is. And then compared to this guy here. So it kind of depends. Do we want some sparkles, or do we just kind of like want a titanium bluish type of metal? So we'll paint this guy up with some of the white, and we'll do the green orbs, and we'll see how this one turns out. So yeah, be quite the interesting little experiment for whenever I do get my Necronari. I totally vouch for the sparkle, and dang it, that just doesn't stay up long enough. Let me get you all out of here. So hold on. We're gonna get this back. But yeah, those turned out really good. The sparkle one, I'm kind of liking that. I still like it. It's a good color. And then, but I also like this one too. But it's kind of like has a little bit of a titanium blue tinge to it. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, why is this not like focusing? Of course, I'm on a live feed, so it doesn't have the auto focus where I can do that, but that's a good color too. So one of these two colors, it's either going to be the sparkly metallic dark metal, or it's going to be this pearl black. But if I do this, I want to be able to thin this out and put it in my my airbrush. Titanium blue looks really good. I also like the gold bronze you had. They turned out okay. I mean, they had some good coloring, but I wouldn't use them for Necrons. Again, we're looking like for a base coat for all of the Necrons. And I think this one was just too sparkly. You see that? It's not like we want to bedazzle. But this one turned out good with the dark shade. So that's a big contender there. And that was the brown shade that we used on how that turned out. That wasn't too bad either. But I think we could do something like this and use that. And then if we wanted to, we could dry brush some bronze on there onto the character. And I think that would be good. But then again, this one looks really good too. And you could do the same thing. You could dry brush some bronze. And maybe we'll try that when we do some green stuff on him. And we'll do some little dry brush for some bronze and see how that goes. And we did a little bit of basing. So in that last video, we ended up using some glue, dunk it into some sand, and those turned out fairly well. Not too bad. This is just kind of like a one-off thing. I just wanted to try out some different colors and some different camo and brown and stuff like that. So nothing spectacular. So yeah, that is what we got going on. And then Mr. Tyrannid waiting in the wind, who definitely is waiting to get painted as well, along with these guys and a bunch of other stuff over here that's waiting to get painted. Yeah, so much to paint, in so little time. So anyway, let's get back to where is that thing? The thing that I had holding the camera for the thing. I don't know. Maybe it's out here again. Or was it in here? No, not there. I need to level my resin printer because I was trying to do some stuff and we didn't get some viable prints, so I need to re-level my bed on that. So that's another project to do. So, so many things, so many squirrel moments. ADHD of like, ooh, look at that over there. It looks so much fun. Where the heck did I put that thing? I had my stand somewhere. But anyway, I think we've been streaming enough. So I need to do some stuff. I need to get cleaned up. Got some other living life stuff to do. Now that boggles my mind. Where did I put that? The stand. Where did it go? Where did I put it? It's not there. I don't know. It disappeared. Where did I put it? I just had it a few seconds ago. Holy crow. Okay. It'll show up. It will show up. Anyway, so that's what we got going on. While it's snowing, flakes are getting bigger. Ooh, they're definitely getting bigger. So we'll be playing around with that and staying inside and having some fun. And another big upcoming thing that we got going on is colonoscopy. Yeah, I think that's Thursday. Got to go up to Seoul and do that. So still got a little bit of snow flurry, kind of some bigger flakes, but it's not crazy. So we'll get a little bit more, but I think that's going to be it. Okay, with that said, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that. And maybe next time I will do the video on the computer so I can actually read the comments. So, because this just doesn't keep those comments up there long enough for me to read. So with that being said, enjoy your day, weekend, night, morning, whatever it is for you. Enjoy it. Weekend's coming. Have some fun. Do it before you get too old. And if you are too old, just do it anyway and enjoy life because life is short. And we'll see you on the next video. All right. Thank you, everybody. Peace.